4 students charged in France over Samuel Paty's beheading in Paris, France. According to a source, 4 teenage students have recently been charged in France over the killing of Samuel Paty. 3 of the 4 students charged were suspected of identifying Paty to his killer, 18-year-old Abdullakh Anzorov, who then hunted him down and beheaded him in the street near the school where he worked. The 3 students, between the ages of 13 and 14 years old, are being charged with, quote, complicity in a terrorist murder, end quote. I have to use coded language for YouTube.
I failed today, but yes.
Anyways. The 4th charged is the daughter of one of the parents who launched a virulent online campaign against Paty, condemning the teacher's use of cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad. She was charged with, quote, slanderous denunciation of Samuel Paty after relating her version of what happened in the classroom despite not attending his civics lesson.
Okay, I think this might be stepping too far. What is it exactly they're being charged with?
I like Hara Sultan saying next news.
Yeah,
that was cute. So 3 students are being charged with complicity in a murder because they identified him to his killer. But
they didn't know what he's about to do. Did they know what he's gonna do?
Armin, let me finish.
They were paid.
They were
Armin,
paid,
by the way.
Oh.
They were paid to point him out.
Okay, yeah, that's that. Okay, never mind. I'll take it back. Maybe it's right. Okay, go on.
That. I don't know. I'm no lawyer. I'm no attorney, but I'm pretty sure by American standards that would be considered being an accomplice in a murder.
I mean, it is shady. Even if they didn't know if he's going to be doing any murdering, that's pretty shady. Like somebody like, I'll pay you money if you show me where this guy is. Like that doesn't that's obvious bad intentions. Yeah, okay, but you have to be concerned. You have to be on the side of wait, is French government going too far, overreacting? You shouldn't be just jumping on the bandwagon of yeah, go at them, just do it. You have to actually be worried. Wait, is this stepping too far? And they were like, oh, okay, it's not. Okay, but go on.
Now I appreciate your skepticism. So, and then the 4th student, who, like I said, is the daughter of one of the parents who created this massive campaign against the teacher online. And this campaign is what led to one of the mosques being shut down for 6 months. So she was a student at the school. She was not in the classroom when this happened. She heard about this happening, relayed her understanding of what happened to her father, and then her father is the one who launched this big campaign that eventually led to Paty's murder. And she's being charged with slanderous denunciation, which is basically slander and libel, because, I mean, it wasn't detailed in English that I could find, but basically the idea is that she lied about him, she lied about what happened, and that was slander and libel.
But did she say that was a lie?
It's not.
She wasn't in the class. She claimed that he did things. She didn't even attend the class. And I've been doing quite a bit of research about what exactly happened here. And there were some students. So there's these 2 stories, right? That he showed the pictures and told people to not watch. But according to students in the class, he said, if you're not comfortable with this, you can leave. Several students talked about
We're talking about Samuel, for people that don't know, we're talking about the Samuel Paty, the teacher that was beheaded for showing the Muhammad cartoons, in Paris. But
he was discussing it within the context of free expression and saying, what do you think about this? Do you think this is right? Do you think they should be allowed? So it was a very open and civil dialogue as to what does this mean? Not like, this is Prophet Muhammad, like it or lump it, this is
He
the-
wasn't forcing anyone.
Right,
He
and he
gave
also
all the
wasn't-
That's what
informed
we do.
consent.
That's what
he
we do.
also wasn't
No, it's-
pushing it on the students to the degree saying, if you don't like it, too bad, according to what the students who were in the class said. This young woman wasn't even in the class. People told her about it. She told people about it and told her father. And there was this whole social media campaign, not just with the dads, but between students. Okay. And then the other 3 kids were paid. And I want to say it's like came out to like $350 total, but I'm trying to find the exact amount to point him out to the murderer. Now, according to them, the murderer said that he just wants to shame him and maybe rough him up to show him that this is wrong. That
would still be an accomplice in a violent
I know.
assault.
I'm just telling you
Oh my
what
God.
what I'm reading, right? Like they're saying, like, we didn't know he was going to cut his head off. But then there's this discussion of people saying, yeah, you did, because, or you, maybe if you didn't, you could have made a very assumption with very strong certainty that something seriously violent would happen because of the social media furor with the girl and her father and what he was doing, plus all this other social media furor that was happening between the students and the discussion between them and their own parents with regard to the school and each other. So it blew the F up in a million different ways.
Danielle is saying, wait, she was told stuff, relate her understanding of it, and then bad stuff happened. This charge doesn't make sense. It just doesn't sound like a lie. Yeah, so maybe she was like, why is she being charged? She just misunderstood what happened. Is that a crime?
According to what I'm reading, and now I haven't seen the charge against her. I would have to look it up, and I would have to spend some time translating it in French because it's legalese. But according to what I'm reading is that she told her father something that wasn't true. Now, did she deliberately know it wasn't true, or did she just hear something that wasn't true?
How old is she again?
13 or 14.
14.
Okay,
yes.
this is crazy. This is a child we're talking about that just misrepresent maybe.
You don't know that, though. We don't know. Then that's because all this stuff is going on. So the burden of proof, depending on what France's libel law is, or, slander law is, would be on the people bringing the charge to prove that she deliberately lied,
Yes.
that she maliciously said this happened, or she just heard through the rumor mill that such and such happened and she told her father.
I mean,
and this
I know
is why
for
I'm
the-
bringing up this whole thing about it blowing up between students,
you
between
mentioned
students and their parents, between the parents and the school.
Right, so
all
then-
these things are going on. So it's a possibility that she, the telephone game where it just keeps getting more and more exaggerated as it goes. Did she maliciously and deliberately do it, or did she just repeat some falsehood that she had heard unbeknownst to her? That's the question.
So, I mean, I don't know what the standard is in France, but I could be wrong. My understanding of is in American standards of the law, for it to be reached to the level of slander or libel, you have to be deliberate, like Rivka said, deliberately and maliciously perpetuating something that you know to be false. So again, it could be totally different standards in France, but then like they said, the burden of proof is on those who are charging her. They now have to go and prove that she went forward and went deliberately to perpetuate something that she knew to be false. And again, like someone said earlier,
you also have to know that the libel laws in the United States are a lot different, and
I need to be able to speak as well.
Much different than the rest of the world.
Yeah, that's not a good justification. I need to be able to speak as well here, because if the standards are different, then the standards in France could suck, and we could call out the standards in France for sucking, because it's a child. I was about to defend this, because I was about to say, like, guys, it's just a charge. That doesn't mean that they're guilty. They could have a court date and be like, like it's okay to bring charges, and there's going to be an investigation. And in modern secular countries, there's plenty of opportunity for the defendant to present their case, and if they're not guilty, they're just going to come off as not guilty. But we're talking about a child here, like the amount of stress and anxiety that we're putting on somebody that just may have misunderstood or exaggerated, either on purpose or not on purpose. I mean, kids, when I was 13, I was misrepresenting things all the time when I was 13. I was like deliberately exaggerating things just because I wanted like people to pay attention to me. I was 13 for crying. Like, you know how many times I would have a legal case charged against me if I was like, if every single one of these was like being, if I every time I exaggerated or misrepresented something as a 13-year-old, if I got like a legal, somebody legally sued me or something, like I would be in court every goddamn day. Like, what the hell? Like, we're talking about a 13-year-old. This shouldn't be a thing. Like, which 13-year-old doesn't lie? Yeah, go.
I'm sure that's exactly what her lawyers may bring up, depending on what the evidence shows. Okay.
Yes, but this shouldn't even be a charge. Like, yes, I would have defended this if this wasn't an adult. I'm like, yes, it's a charge.
So
yes,
children shouldn't be held responsible for things that they do that could be malicious or deliberate. Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't know what the solution is. I just think this is effed up. I don't know what the solution is. I just think that there needs to be a different process for children other than you being charged for misrepresenting things, because children misrepresent things like all the goddamn time.
Yeah, but they don't typically result in murders and then global outrage that
But
cause
this she
boycotts of
didn't
entire
know that.
countries, and then
Maybe
French
she
nationals
did.
being
That's what I'm
targeted
saying.
internationally.
I think that you're
that.
blowing up before you even know. She may be charged. That doesn't mean just because you're charged doesn't mean they'll actually
I
throw
know.
you
I
in
just
jail,
said that.
or
I
you'll
just
go
said
before a
that.
judge.
I just said that.
I understand that, but what I'm trying to say is you have no other option but the law, right? That's all there is. And there usually are certain laws or differences in terms of penalties or how things go depending on the age of someone. I don't know what the laws are in France versus in the United States. But
my entire argument was that, yes, if this was an adult, I would be like, you're just charged. You'll have a chance to defend yourself. And if you're not guilty, you're not guilty. But I'm just imagining a child being charged with being responsible for such a global. I just think like if you just lied about something, the consequences right now is too much more than what a child. I mean, yes, there needs to be laws for children as well. Like if a child like does steal something or commits murder or something like that, there needs to be like major consequences even to a 13-year-old. But just like going to somebody and just saying that this is what happened and ended up not being what happened, and all of a sudden you have a legal case filed against you, I just think that's overkill. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know what the alternative would be, so I don't have the answers. I just think like this is. I just don't like. I don't know. I don't think this is. It just doesn't seem like the right thing to do. Maybe I'm wrong.
But I think there's precedent, and I don't know, but I've heard cases where, a kid has heard from someone else that someone, say, raped someone. That person's father goes and kills the supposed victim, and then you find out that no, that's not true. Or there's cases like that. So I'm using that as an example because I remember reading about one. I'm not saying that this person isn't a child and may not understand the irrevocability of repeating something that you don't know whether it's true or not, and the devastating consequences of that.
Okay, first I need
don't know what the other options are, particularly if you can prove that this person did it maliciously.
Okay, yeah, but Rivka, you already mentioned that. Darky is saying it doesn't mean she will be recognized guilty. I know, I said that. God damn it, people.
You're just mad because we're disagreeing with you.
No, I'm mad because the 13-year-old is under extreme amount of stress and misery just because she just said something that she didn't know is going to lead to what it led to. Harris is saying
Or
13-year-olds
maybe
can
she
be.
did.
Can
We
I?
don't
Can I
know.
just, guy Rivka? It's really my turn now. Harris is saying 13-year-olds can be charged with murders too. Yes, I know, Harris. I know. But this is not murder. That's like this is just a child lying, which children always do. Maybe lying, maybe misunderstanding what happened. Again, having you being charged, I just think maybe it's overkill. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, I don't know.
It could even be, we don't know. It could be a complete misunderstanding, or it could be conspiracy to commit murder. We don't know.
And part of the problem is that the information in English is so limited. We don't have so many of our questions cannot be answered for the information that I could find in English about the level of responsibility that she had in this event. Sultan is saying consequences are the second best demonstration of responsibility.
I agree with him. But I hope this nothing bad happens to this young girl as a result. Like nobody hurts her.
Consequences for children needs to be significantly different than from adults.
Well, even if she is charged guilty, we don't know what that sentence entails. I'm just throwing it out there that I'm just supposing that even if is brought to the level of being guilty, which it is not yet, she is still a child. She will likely be sentenced as a minor, which is typically considerably less.
Okay, John or Young or whatever. Armin, stop white knighting. Justice is blind. No, it's not. Not justice. See the difference between adults and children. So white knighting. No, I'm just trying to figure out what's the right thing to do. So
Armin does not white knight.
Yeah, you should.
Ever? I've never seen that.
Justice is blind. Nope. Justice sees the difference between adults and children. So you're an idiot. Yeah, there needs to be like, is it a juvenile court? Like that's different, right? There is a difference.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
I don't know how things work in France, but if it's anything like America, I would assume.
I hope so. I hope the consequences are not like, because the consequences to this child outside of the legal system could be huge, like the backlash from the community, the ostracization, the school that she has to go to now. Like this is going to be like, she might have just said something that she didn't know what's going to happen as a result, and now she has to pay for it for the rest of her life. So I just hope it doesn't. I just feel bad, for her as well.
What about her parents? Because her father played a significant role.
Right. I don't know. That's a different story. I just think like a child shouldn't be held responsible. Like, I don't know. I'm just worried. I don't know. Maybe
she may have been
wrong.
Manipulated by her father. We don't know until all the evidence comes out. And to your point about juvenile courts, I know that Europe has specifically much stronger rules about like not naming people because they're minors that we don't have in the US. So I'm sure that there are juvenile courts in Europe and juvenile, considerations with regard to whatever. But you still have to have investigatory stuff done to figure out what exactly did or did not happen.
Harris Sultan is saying, yeah, but that's how we let young children to know that there can be consequences. This is why I said second, because first will always be teaching and training of children. Okay, we do need to go to. Okay, Harris also is saying she'll be fine. Let this experience serve her and other kids and parents serve as an example. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm skeptical. I'm very skeptical, especially when it comes to children. I think like we need to be.
I want to say one thing though, as a parent who actually called the police on her own child for something that she did because we could not stop her. It ended up actually being the right thing to do. And she has told me now as an adult, even though she hated me, that she was actually glad that I did it. So I don't know that this will happen with this girl. I don't know that the situation is exactly analogous, but I do know that with regard to Harris's point about showing children, like, I tried to teach her, she couldn't get it through her head because she was at the age that you were talking about, Armin, about being young, doing stupid things, lying, not believing there's consequences to her behavior, and she ended up suffering those consequences. And I'm the one who had to bring them upon her because that's my job as a parent. So that
Danielle saying, did she actually do something rather than just say something, Rivka? Yeah, like she just said something. She just
but
that's all she did.
Well, we're not entirely clear yet. Murtad Skeptic gave a really good suggestion. We need a full episode covering this topic. So if you find more information about this in English, please send it to me on Twitter. There we go.
And my French friends, please share the internet for information.
Yes. By the way, with all that being said, I do, like, guys, the reason why we are, I think you could support France because France is getting this right better than most other countries. Okay. But that doesn't mean that, and we support, right, but that doesn't mean we're not going to find mistakes, and we're not going to see examples of overstepping or violations of human rights. Okay, no country is immune from that. No country is immune from that, right? And part of what making more France, part of why France is a better country compared to many other countries is because this level of pushback and, you know, due diligence and is taken seriously, and people fight back, people question the government's decision, and the government takes these questioning seriously. It's not like, oh, we don't like these countries and we like what France is doing, so we're going to like dogmatically accept everything that France does. We could support France or France's methodology and laws and standards and values. We could celebrate that above other countries and say, like, yes, France is getting it right way better than other countries, while at the same time be diligent to notice that if there is anything that we think that, I mean, we have a much higher standard for France than other countries, right? And we need to, if we're using France as a symbol for what other countries can be like, then we need to be very strict with what we accept. It's not, we're not going to be cultish or dogmatic or like, oh, Macron could do no wrong. No, Macron does plenty of stuff wrong. And we're going to, when he does do anything wrong, or when the French government does anything wrong, or when the policing is like too brutal or too hostile or too much, people are getting judged without any due process or anything like that, we're gonna be there and we're gonna call it out. We're not gonna be hypocrites. We are supporting certain standards that we think makes the world a better place, and we apply it. We apply that to Pakistan as well as to France, right? But we can admit that France is like light years ahead of Pakistan, but that doesn't mean we're not gonna stay consistent to our standards just because we like France more than Pakistan's government. But go on.
I just want to say one more thing to your point. Also, you can say we agree with some of the things that Macron is saying and the stands that we're taking. What we're in now is the implementation phase, which then there's a lot of back and forth about how are we going to go forward and do the things that we are claiming that we need to do, or how are we going to put our stance, our words into action? What's the best methodology? So this is where the discussion actually is really critical, and the rubber meets the road, and where you can have all kinds of disagreements within the framework of actually standing behind these statements about support for Enlightenment values and not backing down from these principles. But how you're going to enact these things, that's a different discussion, and that's where it starts getting kind of sticky and people start having a disagreement about what's the best way to do that.
And subscribe! Everyone! Every single one of you who's watching, subscribe! Do it now! Do it! Do it now!